Government has dropped hints of plans to restore law and order to the two northern region towns where suspected Ivorian rebels and other militants are said to be running illegal gold mining operations. This follows an expose of the lawlessness in the two towns, Dollar Power and Bole Accra, in the Joy News Hotline documentary Rebel Land. The armed men are known to have attacked members of the Bole District Security Council last year, killing a soldier and a mother. The Interior Minister Ambrose Derry on Monday held a meeting with the country's security chiefs. Joy News' investigative journalist Kwete Nate, who put together the documentary, was at the meeting and is on the line to tell us more about that, what transpired. Let's first, however, bring you an excerpt of the documentary Rebel Land.
In areas where the government has little control, insecurity is a big problem. This is a fact not lost on Mumin and other small-scale miners here.
In case you get money here, some are also here, which they don't work. They're also here because of that job. If you get money and you misbehave, then they'll attack you and collect the money through if you are going home.
Okay. We also do understand that sometimes rebels, extort money from you people. Tell me about that.
If you are not careful, they will attack you because somebody is there looking for that kind of money and the fellow is not, he or she is not getting it. And you've gotten it and you are misbehaving, the fellow can attack you and collect the money.
Some go the extra mile to consult malams and spiritualists for protection here.
You can go to a big malam or a herbalist man, so you need a help. Something that he or she may give you something to protect yourself in case of working. The way you would have suffered before getting it, you will not suffer like that.
So some of you sometimes consult spiritualists to help you?
Yeah, or malam. Or if you have somebody who's also having income, the fellow is having small from somewhere, the fellow can support you with income money so that through that money to tend you can become somebody.
This is the reason why there are many checkpoints manned by local gunmen. I counted nearly 9 of these checkpoints on my way to Dollar Power and Accra. They provide protection to the thousands of men who dig the earth and hit the rocks with pickaxes in search of gold. Some are unfriendly and would pull the trigger if they sense danger.
So Kwete Nate, who put together the documentary and was at the Interior Minister's meeting with the security chiefs on Monday, he joins me on the line with more. Good evening to you, Kwete. Now, I'd want to believe that this is the very first acknowledgement of the fact that actually Dollar Power, these two towns, actually exist in the northern region.
Correct, Israel.
All right, so what exactly did the Interior Minister tell you?
Israel, the Interior Minister, after viewing the documentary, noted that security needs to be maintained there. He raised concerns about the military commander who was killed. Also, he was concerned about the activities of gunmen over there. And his point was that the place could possibly be a reservoir for armed robbers. And he also made the point that there is a need to keep the rebels at their side of the border so that the level of insecurity there can be checked and dealt with.
Let's hear the minister.
Well, after watching the documentary, as you know, I did it with all my commanders of institutions and the Ministry for the Interior. My impressions are positive. First, it's a good piece of investigative journalism. and it also raises issues that are pertinent to the activities of institutions, security institutions under the Ministry for the Interior. And so we're going to derive from that action plan in terms of what immigration needs to do about its nearest post to the area. We'll also take it from what the DISEC and Bole district, and of course the RESEC northern region, to work together to see the various aspects of security matters that need to be addressed.
Security is one of the concerns many of the persons I spoke to raised. So what's the Interior Ministry doing to give reassurance to the people that the ministry is going to take charge of their security, especially in those areas?
First of all, I think that we are quite clear in our minds that the rebels are not squarely on Ghanaian soil. And what we need to do is to keep them outside Ghanaian soil. But one concern is that when you talk about the Dollar Town and Accra, in the rebel land as you described it, it may well be a reservoir of armed robbers who normally get out of those localities to perpetrate acts of robbery along the highway, and we've got quite a number of them. So one of the things we need to explore is to what extent those people who rob on the main roads could be from that. And also, we also want to ensure that the DISEC is in full control of what is happening there. Offenses committed there must be investigated and also dealt with according to law. So the various sections immediately that I think under the Ministry for the Interior are relevant are first immigration, to deal with the movement in and out through that area into La Côte d'Ivoire and back, and the police regarding the acts of lawlessness, where you have even people who are deprived of their property by armed people. We saw them handling arms. Do they have licenses to handle arms? All those things are relevant. And of course, for the activities in themselves, are they involved in legal and lawful activities?
So that was Interior Minister Ambrose Zere there speaking with Kwete Nate. And Kwete Nate, who put together this investigative piece, is still on the line. Kwete, now it's good to know that government is doing something about it, but what do you know has happened since you put out that documentary?
Israel, the documentary has attracted a lot of attention, particularly in Bole. Some of the persons I spoke to during the investigation told me that they were summoned by the traditional authorities. They were questioned. Some even told me that they've been threatened by some individuals in the community. Crisis meetings have been held over the issue. So my ears are on the ground. I've been monitoring the situation. I've also been speaking to the MP for the area, Honorable Yusuf Suleimana. He told me that he wants to make a statement on the issue in Parliament. Apparently, the security concerns in the area has come to his attention, and he intends taking it up seriously.
Right. Thank you very much, Kwete Nate, there, for a good job done. Another news, the New Patriotic Party says it will not be blackmailed by party supporters agitating for or against the appointment of MMDCs. It comes even as the party considers proposed candidates to be appointed to represent the president in the various districts and municipalities. Acting General Secretary of the party, John Boadu, told a news conference the process initiated by the party was meant to assist the president make a choice and not to impose one on him. There is more in this report.
There have so far been some agitations with regards to the process leading to appointments of MMDCEs. About 2 weeks ago, Some members of an assembly within the Ododo-Diodio constituency registered their displeasure over the nomination of some persons to serve in the assembly. Earlier today, similar agitation was registered in the Tema East constituency, where some MPP supporters told News Conference the regional chairman of the party, Ishmael Ashite, is seeking to impose relative as MCE. Neno Foite is the party's Tema East chairman. The regional chairman has, however, denied the accusation, describing it as an untruth.
Their complaint is that I'm imposing a relative of mine as the MCE of Tema. In actual fact, I'm not the appointing authority. I don't appoint anybody. It is only the president who have to appoint the Metropolitan Chief Executive. And therefore, it will be wrong for anybody to come out to say that I am putting somebody on them.
For the party, the procedure is clear. Applications are to be put at the constituency level. John Boedu is the acting general secretary.
The region had duly submitted all applications to National Party. We've sat down to go through. There were some regions and some constituencies that some few shortlisting were done. In some cases, 19 people applied. In some cases, 20 people applied. For us sitting here, it will be difficult to be able to go through these 19 people and take a decision. So we allow the various constituencies and the regions to do some shuffling. And that has been done. That is causing some few consternations on the ground. But that's how it is. It's about making sure that you get the best for the party.
The acting general secretary also served notice that the president will not be influenced by such agitations.
If there is any problem that anybody raises, our doors are open. We are ready to listen to it. I don't have interest in a particular district or particular municipality. My interest is the New Patriotic Party, and that is all. And that one, if we take the decision, it is a decision that has been taken by the party, and we are going to defend. We are not going to allow ourselves to be blackmailed by annoyance and demonstration. We are not going to allow that. We will make sure that everything that is done in the interest of the party, and party people must understand that this is the position.
The party, it appears, is bent on relying on the process of application going forward. What will be key is whether the call on party faithful to remain calm will restore calm indeed.
Watching Joy News Prime, we're taking a break, but we have more stories coming up thereafter. Please don't go away. The Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools has begun gathering data from various senior high schools across the Ashanti region ahead of implementation of government's free SHS promise. The data being collected is mainly on fees charged by the various senior high schools. President Akufo-Addo over the weekend stated that implementation of the party's free senior higher education promise would start this September.
The government of Ghana will fund the cost of public senior high schools for all those who qualify for entry from the 2017-2018 academic year onwards. Free SHS will mean that in addition to tuition, which is already free, there will be no admission fees, no library fees, no science center fees, no computer lab fees, no examination fees, no utility fees. There will be free textbooks, free boarding, and free meals. Free SHS will also cover agricultural, vocational, and technical institutions.
Speaking earlier on the polls on Joy News, the PR of the Ghana Education Service, Reverend Jonathan Betty, explained how the information gathered from the nationwide exercise would help in the fulfillment of the promise.
We submitted enrollment figures, but there is also a need for the management of Ghana Education Service to ask the management of management of our schools also to give them the data collection of enrollment figures and few other things, including buildings which are healthy, buildings which are not healthy, which we can call dilapidated buildings, and schools under trees. So these are some of the things that we demanded from the headmasters of our schools, so that when they are collected, we will give them to the minister for him also to sit with the cabinet for a good planning for our schools. When we get the right figure and look at what the CSSPS also had given to the government, they will see the actual number of students in all the schools in the whole country, so that the free SHS will benefit everybody. Government has also intended looking at the infrastructure standard of all the schools in the whole country, trying to see where there's a need for a new one to be built, where there's a need for a renovation, and whatever. Secondly, they requested also for the enrollment. This one will also help in the capitation monies that will be going to the schools, feeding, and all that the president has stated in today's paper during the anniversary on Saturday. Government knows where to get the money and resources from to sponsor all these things. And there is nobody that can compete or challenge the statement of the president of the state. He is the overall, he knows what he's doing and what he has said.
Many have applauded the plan, though many others are worried that the cost implications would stifle funding to other sectors of the economy. Joining us on the phone now is the former Director General of the Ghana Education Service and one of those who contributed to the drafting of the New Patriotic Party's education policy, is Mr. Michael Nsoah. We're going to him because we've been unsuccessful in getting the Education Minister to provide more information on the funding implications. Good evening to you, Mr. Nsoah, and thanks for making the time. Now, how much will this free SHS cost the country, and where does government plan to get money from to pay for it?
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I'm asking, how much will this free SHS cost the country, and where does government plan to get the money from to pay for it?
Well, as to the exact how much it will cost, I'm not sure I'll be able to give that figure, but what we know is that if we use part of the oil money, we'll be able to take care of the cost or the whole project of giving the free SHS, giving free secondary education to the students.
Do you have an estimate, or do you have estimates of how much of the oil money, for instance, you intend to use? 50%, 60%?
Oh no, I'm not sure about. What I know is that so far, the oil money that has been used to develop other sectors, we should be able to get some money out of the oil money in addition to the normal revenue that is collected in the nation to support education and other sectors, to be able to accomplish this free SHS for in the secondary schools.
Now, are you suggesting that at the time of putting together the policy, you didn't have in mind at all, an estimate of how much it will cost?
You see, we have done so much work that, for example, as we speak now, all students don't pay tuition fees. No student pays tuition fees. And until about 2011, when government subsidy was scrapped. Now, this is part of the plan that we are introducing the government subsidy where all other bills were paid for by the government. Now, what is remaining is the feeding for the boarding students. And this is what we are working on. At least if we take the subsidy that was given to students from 2001 until it was withdrawn in 2011, we know that we can accommodate all that within the normal budget allocations. Now, what we are looking for is the money to fund the feeding for the students in the boarding houses. So it's not a big deal, or it's not something that is going to no.
Oh, to the contrary, it is a big deal, because here you're talking about boarding fees, and the boarding fees are the boarding feeding fees are quite significant.
No, already all students of northern extraction are on boarding fee subsidy. All students.
These are schools in the 3 regions in the north.
So that has been taken care of in the budget already.
We have 10 regions.
So we are looking at the rest of the students.
We have 10 regions in the country, and you're talking about just 3.
No, but we are talking about numbers. We're talking about the number of students in the system, which is over 800,000. Now, out of this, almost 300,000 are on this boarding subsidy.
You know, and even looking at the 3 regions, the schools in the 3 regions in the north, government constantly has an issue or is unable to adequately or pay them up or pay for the subsidies in good time. They're always complaining. And yet we're going to add 7 more regions.
No, it is because when budgets are made or budgets are prepared, somehow they don't get the money. And nobody gives any explanation as to why these monies are not paid. But this is going to change. Once it is taken care of in the budget, then the money will definitely go to where it should be.
And there's also some of the critics are saying that rather than look at this wholesale free SHS policy, we probably should be looking at quality. And this is what is likely to happen, that we're going to compromise on quality.
That is not true. That is not true. Well,
how are we making sure that we're not compromising on quality?
We are not compromising on quality because we've taken care of, or we've actually looked at the logistics that will be required, like the president announced.
Because making it free also means that there's going to be a whole lot of people wanting to take advantage of it.
Why not?
And we're going to congest the schools.
The president announced that all those who will qualify, because that means that it is going to be a state. All those who will qualify, the additional numbers start to be added to the current population in the system. So as we go along, by the end of the 4-year period, everybody then would have come up with the making basic education up to the SHS level. So that is the plan.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Michael Nsoa, former Director General of the Ghana Education Service. Thank you very much. Now, joining us is Erastus Aridonko, has meanwhile been speaking to some parents about the Free SHS initiative.
That's all. Bema, you know, the SS3 no to 11.950
every term.
So
he says the son who is about to complete, he is paying that is 1,100, almost 1,200 Ghana cedis per term. Sana is he where then out here?
Me pato me boja kakra nti ebi wa na makotua 500,000 ebi wa na makotua 1 million sa kakra me na meditua.
He saves bit by bit in bits and pieces, and when he gets piece meals, he goes to pay. That's how she funds them. And a buying person of school fees, no, not secondary school, no, free. We also funny in an ABA or energy or Befamubia, Emudia and Kababwa.
Because all don't we funny in an pay. There's now more and on funny in an I won't say it. In that may be a young colon to me, no funny in I pay.
Well, she says that if government is able to absorb all the fees and not part of it, they will be very happy because they struggle to pay their school fees. Let me invite more of the parents to join me now and talk about how they go through, what they go through in actually paying their school fees. And I also saw money saying,
in fact, yeah, first 90 SARS, say you. Akwalaba akukwa kotua 11 million, 12 million.
Any body ana?
Aye, a term. Yeah.
Oh, saying.
The bacho baku or 3, ana baku so 1 or 2. Yeah, pa in fact, yeduma ya kakaka boja ya na yede any yede tuatua ma school fees. Yeah, bre me nua be man tinke na yete se na do say. Anko ba me free education. Yede nki yempani free. Yede ne se so ko ba kwa no wote so kakra ma yen. Na yen so ya bo anki ye penki ye be ho men kakra ne ka yempetimi ya so mo ba no so. Enti nki yen ya sere na so mo aye ye sere no pa.
Well, what she is saying is that she pays about 1,100, and that amount comes from petty trading she does, and that's how come they are appealing to the government. They here in Nanado is coming up with a free SHS policy. In fact, they are even suggesting that if he won't absorb all the fees, and he will even absorb part of it, and so that they can also support with part payment, they will be so happy with that. So they are appealing to Nanado to make that.
The 9-member committee set up to plan Ghana's 60th independence anniversary celebrations has downplayed allegations of plagiarism that has rocked the committee over the anniversary logo. Speaking at a news conference at the presidency, Media Committee Chairman Jefferson Taki said there is a deliberate attempt by a section of the Ghanaian public to make the government look bad by creating a website with the same logo. He however added that the committee will not allow the scheme to divert government's focus from what it has set out to achieve.
Do we have reason to celebrate? Yes.
There was huge public outcry a day after the launch of the controversial logo by President Akufo-Addo, with many on social media accusing the president and his appointees of copying the logo, describing it as disgraceful. But answering questions on the controversial subject, the Media Committee Chairman said the story of plagiarism came as a surprise to the committee.
So the issue of plagiarism is something that it comes to us as a surprise. And in fact, we've done our own research and all that. I can tell you for a fact, as at Friday in the night, when we received the message that there was something like that going on, we Googled if we could find where that logo is coming from. We couldn't find it. By Saturday morning, we saw, that website under construction, and we have video, pictorial evidence to show. Today, as we speak, they've actually loaded content onto that website, created a Facebook page. As at Saturday, there were 2 people liking the Facebook, and it's increasing.
National salute, free
Part of this year's celebration is to instill in the Ghanaian the spirit of patriotism for nation building. Speaking at the same news conference, the Director of Operations, who also doubles as event subcommittee chairman of the anniversary, Lord Comey, says the year-long pledge campaign will be critical in achieving the objective.
A flag dropping day has been scheduled to start on the 1st of March, where the Ghanaian flag, which looks like missing in the scheme of things as a people. We prefer the Manchester United flags and the other ones, Arsenal, Chelsea. In fact, even the Hearts of Oak and Kotoko flags are missing, which I think that is not good for the Ghanaianness. It's important that we bring on board what we own as a people.
The 40-member committee says it remains guided by events of the Golden Jubilee celebration 10 years ago, which saw an almost 300% budget overrun. The Dr. Charles Reku Brobe-led committee ended up spending $75 million from the initial budget of $20 million. The committee has resolved to operate within the 20 million cedi budget for the year-long celebration.
In other news, the Bank of Ghana has justified the contract awarded a company to integrate the mobile money platforms of the various mobile phone companies. This will make it possible for an Airtel Money subscriber, for instance, to directly transfer funds to an MTN Money subscriber. The company eventually selected Sipton Switch Systems Limited is estimated to make some 4.6 billion cedis from the venture over the duration of the contract. Many industry players especially say the contract sum is outrageously high, especially when the two other competing bids offered to do the job for a lot less, and have raised suspicions about transparency. But the Director of Communications at the bank, Bernard Oteville, says there is nothing untoward about the contract. And though he says the central bank conducted enough due diligence before awarding the contract, he did not know owners of Sipton Switch Systems Limited.
Bank of Ghana, realizing the importance of the payment system to its work and realizing the fact that it would want to be very innovative and support competition in the industry, put out there for proposals for people to submit what they can provide for the central bank in terms of what it wants to do, and also be able to invest their own money to design, to build, to own, and to operate. Now, your expected income stream is basically based on how you can convince your stakeholders to use your service.
So there were three companies that bid for this. Valve Intel Limited, they bid 14 million cedis. Mericom Solutions bid about 5.4 million cedis. And then Sipton Switch, that's the company that won, they bid 4.6 billion cedis. Can you tell us who is the owner of Sipton Switch?
I can never tell you who the owner of Sipton Switch really is, because the honest truth, hand on heart, is that I don't know, honesty. Now, let me also explain.
Sorry, you don't know the owner of the company that won the bid?
I don't know the owner of Sipton. I have not done any shareholder evaluation to see who exactly is behind it and so on and so forth.
The police in the Eastern region are on the manhunt for a popular taxi driver who is believed to be the ringleader of a robbery syndicate terrorizing residents in Koforidua and Asokore. The suspect, Richard Obeng, reportedly absconded when he realized 6 of his accomplices had been arrested. 3 of the suspects have been apprehended at their hideout near a popular drinking spot following a tip-off. Joining News Eastern Region correspondent Kofi Sian reports the other 3, aged between 27 and 29, were arrested at Asokorikuma, a suburb of Koforidua. Deputy Regional Commander ASP Alhaji Nuhu Jango earlier today paraded the suspects at a news conference. But joining us on the phone line now is Eastern Region correspondent Kofi Sian with more on the case. Good evening to you, Kofi. What has the police been saying about these robberies?
Well, Israel, good evening. The Eastern Regional Deputy Commander, ACP Nuhu Jango, who addressed the media, says that the police patrol team was patrolling the township when they had a tip-off that some guys were hiding at a popular spot, smoking some substances suspected to be Indian hemp. So they got to the scene, and some of them were able to flee, but they were able to arrest 3 of them. And they are Emmanuel Lamwa, he is 23 years of age, Samuel Chumeti, 30 years, and Kwesi Sukba, who is also 25 years of age. So they apprehended them, and when they searched on them, they found a pair of scissors, which was concealed in an envelope on one of them. So they picked them up and also had information that in Asokorikuma, one of the suburbs in Koforidua, there were some robbery incidents also happening there. So they rushed to the scene and arrest one Daniel Bequin, who is 29 years old. The other person is also Divine Mutaka, 27, and Edward Inketia, who is 20 years old. But the last suspect who has fled, and the police says they are on a manhunt for him. Is Richard Obeng. He's 20 years old and a taxi driver. The police says they believe he is the ringleader of the syndicate, and they've declared that the public should help the arrest of the popular taxi driver Richard Obeng, who is believed to be in a hideout in Koforidua.
No, so how come there's this popular taxi driver and nobody knows that, or nobody knew that he was part of an armed robbery syndicate?
That was a question posed to the Deputy Regional Commander, and he said even though he's very popular in the area, but the list suspected him to be a part of an armed robbery syndicate.
All right, thank you very much, Kofi Sian, bringing us up to speed with this particular story. Now, moving on to others. Mainstream media, particularly radio and TV, has for decades held sway over news and information dissemination. Though it continues to enjoy this dominance, the emergence of social media in more recent years is gradually chipping away the influence of the medium. There are many who now turn to Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms for news they'd have typically consumed from radio or TV. On the occasion of World Radio Day, on the theme Radio Is You, Joy News' Maxwell Agbawa has been probing how some people access news and how some of the new methods pose a threat to the traditional dominance of radio and TV.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News.
An important aspect of radio broadcasting journey in Ghana was an attempt to break the state broadcasters' monopoly. That led to the establishment of a radio station called Radio I, owned by Dr. Charles Rekubrobe in the 90s. Media pluralism and the emergence of technology means stiffer competition for traditional media like radio, be it online, social media. The news is everywhere. This means that consumers are now spoiled for choice. But in all of these, there are some persons who have remained loyal to radio. Ali Dubaba is one of them. He has been a security man for more than a decade. Ali tells me his job as a security man has compelled him to resort to radio as his only source of news. Here in his little office at the Mamobi Government Hospital, his radio finds space on the wooden table, which also has some foolscap notebooks.
Sometimes if you are at night duty and you have a radio by you, it keeps you awake. You will not sleep deep. Even if you doze off, you hear, then you come back to your decision. And then you listen to news, to what is happening around, especially Ghana, you hear. For instance, at the hospital here, you have people coming in and out, they'll be asking you questions. So you won't even get time to read paper or look TV. Yeah, you will concentrate on. Some of them will ask you for directions. Maybe the fellow is going to maternity, to lab, administration. You have to direct them. And as far as, apart from that, you have to be watching other things too. They mix up, other criminals mix up with them and come. Somebody might come as if he's sick or, no. They are coming purposely to steal people's things. So you identify people and then you work them out as well.
Unlike Ali Dubaba, 22-year-old Aurelia Atipo, a final-year computer science student of the University of Ghana, does not have the luxury of time to listen to radio. She spends the best part of her day in class. She can't afford to tune in when her lecturer is in class. She, however, resorts to other mediums like social media and online.
My information comes from online because as a student, busy schedules like class schedules and all that. So it's very, very difficult for you to listen to the radio like every single time because we are always thinking about like the next app we are going to create and things like that, your project work. You can't really be listening to radio. I start to get information on social media than the radio, and I always get my news on social media before I even hear it on radio or TV.
Aurelia and three of her colleagues in December represented the University of Ghana at the World Universities Debate Championship in the Netherlands. She tells me the team had to solely depend on online news for their preparations.
The one we relied on for the the World Universities Debating Championship was online information, because we had a very busy schedule and we couldn't always listen to radio. So
the emergence of social media platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, and Twitter have made the accessibility of news via non-traditional media easier. You don't necessarily have to type the web address on your computer to get information. The news appears on your Facebook and Twitter timelines. The link is also shared by friends on WhatsApp. Professor Odugajiku believes social media delivers news with the speed of light. Mainstream media, she says, will not be able to catch up with that speed of information dissemination.
I think it's important for traditional media to recognize that they're not going to be able to compete in terms of speed with social media, but they are absolutely essential in terms of credibility.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Okay, Aro Kumsing is here, and she's going to be telling us what's trending on social media. Good afternoon to you, Aro.
Good afternoon. Now, Israel, you know that the president...
Media houses are aware of the power social media and the non-traditional media wield in the business of news. A lot of them have now included social media segments in their news, giving more meaning to the theme for the 2017 World Radio Day, Radio is You.
It was a plagiarized one.
Subject evokes fear in most students. The mass failure of students at VEC and WASI gives cause to worry. But President of the Ghana Mathematics Society, Professor Suchofer Anku, says students are failing because they are not using the right approach and method. In an interview with Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba ahead of the National Maths Day on February 14, Professor Anku bemoaned the quality and competence of the teachers teaching the subject.
That happened because, we train teachers here. We train teachers. We've trained over 800 teachers from the 10 regions of Ghana here. And when they come, I interview them, I give them tests, and I see the way they respond. I ask myself, are these the teachers of mathematics? If they are the teachers of mathematics, then what are they teaching the students? You see, a lot of them don't understand the mathematics. They don't know how to teach the mathematics for understanding, let alone relate to real-life situations for the students to appreciate, the importance of what they are studying. So, and I've asked them a lot of questions, and I see from the questions that they don't understand. They're just there, as somebody in the classroom, occupying the space of a teacher, and let alone a mathematics teacher. That's all. You see, as teachers, what's pi? It surprised you. 30 teachers pi. 10 teachers couldn't answer a word as to what pi is.
Professor Anku also blames the failure of the single spine pay policy on mathematical miscalculation.
You see, talk of single spine. Yeah. It was a misapplication of mathematics that caused the problem. I once called capacity building for all media people here to show them how, the whole single spine collapsed because we didn't understand simple concept of fraction. Fraction, that's all. It all relates to fraction. That's all. And I called them. Money was here, everybody was here. But then they came to say, hey, that's all the end. Nobody promoted it again. You see,
how did he call?
What's the fraction? Fraction is a unit partitioned into a number of equal parts. Then you take a part. So, single spine salary is taking part of the whole. What's the whole unit? The whole unit is your GDP. So the whole GDP is partitioned into parts. So to those parts, one part goes for education, one part goes for health, one part goes for that, one part goes for salary. If you take health and road construction and put all together, going to give salary, we are depriving those areas of their share. So that's all. So if you want bigger share, have a bigger unit. A bigger unit means bigger GDP. How do you get a bigger GDP? There are many ways economists will tell you. Either you reduce your import bill or you increase your export earnings. So there are many ways to do. you know, and one person will be questioning you. No, this is too much, this is too little, this is too. So you follow it and you see that you get your good result. But if you just go, say, I want to give you salary, 30 million, without considering what percentage, what fraction of the GDP you are taking for salary, you to collapse. You collapse, like buildings are collapsing. It's a very simple issue of ratio of cement to water to sand. That's all. A particular ratio will give a particular strength of your concrete. But what happens? When they say go and build for me, you take away all, you steal all the cement to go and sell.
Now, it's a condition that can turn your world around from good to worse, and patients who suffer attacks have had to deal with the stigma that comes with the condition, from people being afraid to touch them to putting spoons in their mouths during episodes. These patients say dealing with a stigma has been their biggest challenge. On the day set aside to speak about the illness, the AM show's Mama Viwusu Abuaje sheds more light on the disease called epilepsy.
Epilepsy is the most common serious neurological condition affecting 1 to 2% of the population. In Ghana, the actual estimates of persons with epilepsy are not known, but more than 100,000 people have active epilepsy, with at least a further 5,000 new patients presenting with a seizure each year. Dr. Albert Akpalu, head of Neurology Unit's Department of Medicine at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, explains the disease.
Epilepsy has been connoted in so many mystical and spiritual forms, but basically epilepsy is a tendency for you to have a seizure. So a seizure is when you lose consciousness, when one part of the body jerks or you fall down. The most people understand is when, if you've seen a seizure before, you fall down and then you start jerking and they foam from their mouth and they urinate or defecate on themselves. That's the extreme. We call that generalized seizures. Then we have the focal where can be just one hand will be jerking, or a child will be just absent-minded in class, or just some lip smacking, or just one side of your body jerking. That's all. You still you don't lose consciousness. So that's what we call a focal seizure.
Dr. Akpalu says a third of the time the cause of epilepsy is unknown, but delays in delivery and postnatal head trauma are some contributory factors. What is scary is the fact that 75% of people living with epilepsy in Ghana don't have access to care. The treatment gap is a big challenge, but even worse is the stigma, which results in high rates of epilepsy deaths. Dr. Akpalu outlines some of the myths which he says leads to unnecessary deaths.
The biggest problem for us is stigma. All right. So if I'm a person living with epilepsy in Ghana, if you walk in my shadow, you are considered that you can get epilepsy. If I say, Sebio, excuse me to say, I pass Bluetooth.